Okay, it looks like we've got some of the folks here. Tara, is that you on 007 phone number?
That's me, Leslie.
Okay.
We've got
So,
me and Susan here, and it looks like unless Tara or John shows up, we don't have a quorum at this point.
exactly. Okay, I guess we can wait.
Thanks, Phil. Sorry.
No worries. I'm dialing in from Columbia, Maryland today. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I went to the library foundation board and wore two hats, yours and mine.
excellent. Did they ask any questions?
Nah, I just told them what I was going to tell the group today is we're going to give Ashley a check for 20,000 from Friends of the Library in November.
Excellent.
And I've had a booth or a table at the market, and it's been really successful. Lots of good library questions, lots of support, donations, and we've been making, well, I made $157 last week and $206 the week before. So we're selling a lot of donated books too.
Oh, excellent.
But a lot of it is PR.
Yeah, it is. She's doing a great job with PR for the foundation, for the Friends, and for the library.
Well, that's great, Susan. I appreciate all your hard work in making that happen. I know it's not easy, especially I guess you don't know every week that you're going to get one because it's there's some kind of assignment process where you don't get to have a stall every
Well, she's got an in, so it's been okay so far.
That's good.
Yeah. What am I going to do when you're...
I'll make sure.
Well, we've still got Leslie, right? Or is she quitting too?
No. Got that.
So who do we have phoned in?
256. Who is that?
That's me. This is Tara.
Oh, hi, Tara.
Hi.
Okay, we've got a quorum. How about we wait? Let's just give it another 2 minutes to see if John
will join us from Italy.
Is John in Italy or Don?
Yeah.
See, that's even farther than Maryland.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we're. So what you're saying is the three is all we're going to get today.
It might be that John was intending to join us from Italy, but I'm not sure what technical challenges he may be facing there.
Well, I think it's late afternoon there.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out what time. Because you're 3 hours ahead of us, so it's noon at where you are?
Right. He's, I think, depending where in Italy, I think 6 hours ahead.
Something like, well,
maybe 5 hours. Maybe 5 hours because of daylight savings time. I lose track because we're in daylight savings time. It kind of moves around. Right now, England's 4 hours ahead. It's usually 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Rome is maybe one more time zone further east. Yes. All right. So why don't we, I'm working off both my phone and my iPad. So if I hesitate, it's because my phone screen has gone locked. I have to unlock it. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's have a call to order and a roll call.
John Krischer. Susan Murphy.
Yes.
Bill Pardue.
Yes.
Tara Twomey. Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you.
All right. So do we have any public appearances? Anybody logged on from the public today? Okay.
We have members of the public here, but they're here to speak on a specific item, Phil.
Okay, this is for the Monterey Symphony?
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on to announcements.
Oh, let's see. We're going to give the library $20,000 in November, which is 15 more than we budgeted for, which gives us an extra 5,000, which is good. We cleared about 15,000 on the sale, and I've been doing really well at the at the market, so that's why we're able to do it. And the booth, and as I told you earlier, we also have, thanks to Leslie and Ashley, we have a table at the market almost every week. And we've been doing really well and answered a lot of questions about the library and a lot of publicity and so forth. So
Great. Well, appreciate all the hard work and well done on being able to exceed the budget, the planned budget.
yeah.
Thank you. Any other, Tara, do you have any announcements?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay. So now we're on to announcements from the library director.
So I just wanted to announce that we are actively working fast and furiously on recruitments to get the library open more hours and more days of the week. I'll have 4 new library assistants starting in the coming weeks, and we'll be working on part-time librarians and librarian 1 position, which will take the place of Terry Rodriguez, who's been bumped up to our new youth services librarian, if you saw our newsletter last week, which
Okay.
I'm very pleased about. I think she's going to do an absolutely terrific job. When we first interviewed her for the librarian 1 position, I saw her skill and was hoping that this is something that would happen in terms of planning for retirements and things with Grace. So I'm very pleased that this worked out. And I'm hoping, probably being realistic with the time it takes to hire people and training and all of that, probably in the new year, in January, we'll be closer to getting back to our normal hours, which was 10 to 6 in both buildings, 5 days a week. Weekends, 12 to 4 on Saturday in the Park Branch and the main, and 12 to 4 again on Sunday. So we'll get back there. It's going to take a few more months, but we'll get there.
Okay.
Ashley, can I ask a question on the personnel recruitment?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So have those been posted? Yes.
Those have been posted. Yes, those were posted on the city's website back at the end of August.
And are you getting responses? I mean, I think one of the issues that we're seeing just more generally is a real difficulty in filling positions, just in general.
Yes.
So are you getting responses, or are we kind of getting dribs and drabs coming in and just waiting? Like, I'm just curious how that process is going.
Yeah, we're getting responses. So for the 4 part-time library assistant positions, we interviewed 15 people, which I think is pretty good for our.
I think that's great.
Yeah,
I think that's great. Okay. Mm-hmm. Super.
And then Alex is not here today. And so I wanted to announce out about some of the programs that are coming up for the Carmel Public Library Foundation. If you weren't there on October 13th, we had a great program on The Gilded Edge by Catherine Prendergast, which is kind of an expose on Carmel history. Very interesting book, highly recommend. The next big program will be on Wednesday, November the 10th, and that is Meet the Stars in Space, Astronauts and Their Journey. And that's over at the Carmel High School auditorium. So that will be interesting. And then we've got fireside chats up. As Susan mentioned, she's out there with the library and community night program flyer every week. So I encourage you all to check it out and to attend.
All right. Well, thank you. Okay, on to the orders of business, the first of which is to approve the minutes of the August 25th, 2021 meeting.
I move we approve the minutes of the meeting.
This is Tara. I second.
Okay, if we could have a roll call on the approval of the minutes for 25 August 2021.
Susan Murphy,
Yes.
Bill Pardue,
Yes.
Tara Twomey.
Yes.
Approved. Thank you.
Okay, on to the next item of business, receive the librarian's report for August and September 2021.
So with the librarian's report, I just want to say that we see, if you look at the numbers, we were open the last 2 weeks of August. So you see an increase over July in terms of circulation for both adults and children. And there is a slight dip when you get into September. We weren't increasing at the same rate with August, and that's typical for us, especially with the juvenile literature because we see a huge bump in June and July for summer reading, and then it dips down again when kids start school and kind of levels out for the rest of the year. I am tracking, I'm not sure how worthy of an exercise this is, but I am tracking where we were in 2019 versus where we are in 2020. Completely different hours, completely different circumstances coming out of the pandemic, but I do like to look at, are we getting back to where we were? And I think we are. So we used to be open combined 96 hours between the two buildings. Those were our service hours for the week. At this point in time, we're open 18, but we're doing about a third of the same circulation that we were before. And I think this is interesting because what it shows to me and what I saw when I've done the comparison in statistics for the snapshot of curbside and outside library is that our patrons are willing to adapt in order to have our services. They want to be in the library. They want to be in the building. They want their books. They want either hard copy or electronic, or whether they need help, on the phone or in person. The library is very important to this community. And I know some people might look at those and say, well, you don't need to be open as many hours. We do need to be open as many hours because for everybody who comes in and says, thank you so much for being open and checking out their holds, they're like, when are you going to have normal hours so that we can not have to schedule this in a weird way in our day or be confused about when you're open. So I'm very heartened and thankful for our community. And to that end, I will say for our library services, I should have mentioned this during announcements, but the library for the first time is a recipient of a Golden Pine Cone for the best library in the peninsula. So I think that our staff has done a great job. And again, you can see that in our statistics when you look at August and September. And if you would like, I can send you, 2018, 2019 numbers to do a compare and contrast across the board. But, for instance, the adult circ total for August 2019 was 6,456, and for us right now it's 2,772. So we are at about that third range, and our electronic checkouts continue to be incredibly robust, which I'm pleased about. A lot of people are using those in addition to coming in and checking out their hard copy books. Another jump up in stats is return of volunteers coming into the library, for which we are very grateful. They're helping with shelving. They're working on local history projects as we work to get that department back open again. Is the last department that is still closed. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them about the statistics.
Actually, this is Tara. So I have a question about the traffic in the kids' library. I'm assuming it's up, right? And so how are those hours? I'm just kind of curious kind of what the feel is there, because, one of the things we talked about with the kids' library, one of the things that was a challenge with closing our buildings is, kids are often the browsers, right? You come in, you look around, you don't come knowing that you're going to check out, Bobby rides his bike or something like that. It's just, you just don't, right? And so how has the reception been over there at the kids' library, and how has the traffic been?
The traffic has been really good. It gets super busy in there because so Mondays and Fridays we're open 2 to 5 there. So we get the after school crowd. And then on Wednesdays, we get the morning crowd, the younger kids. It's been pretty robust. And we're getting lots of checkouts and people coming in using the craft cart. And we're talking about how and when we can reinstitute story times. So the next thing I think we're going to do in terms of expanding hours will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, do the afternoon hours, and Tuesday, Thursdays, do the morning hours as we get more staff and slowly start to expand those. But it's generally a full house when we're in there. Everybody's good and socially distanced, but craft carts going, people are browsing, adults are coming in to pick up their holds because they find the Park Branch more convenient than the main sometimes. So it's been going really well.
Great. I mean, my sense from what I've heard is that people are obviously happy that they can get back in the building and they can do that kind of browsing, and happy to be back there. So obviously, everybody wants more hours. We want more hours. I tell people we want more hours. We're trying to get there. be patient. And I think we're moving in the right direction. But I'm glad to see the doors are open again and the kids are back in there. So
Yeah.
That's great.
We're very happy too. And it's nice. We're seeing, some families with young kids who are, kind of pandemic babies who haven't been around other kids. And it's been interesting to see those families come in because they're using the library as a way to socialize their children who haven't been around kids for a year and a half or 2 years. And we're so pleased to be able to offer this place as a safe space for them to feel comfortable to do that, to get books, to use the craft cart, to start those tentative interactions. And it's really good.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Unless, Susan, do you have any questions from the librarian's report?
No, not at all, except I don't know about Thursday with the how's the parking on Thursdays if you're going to open the children's library.
We were open on Thursdays before, and the parking was challenging, but at the same time, we do have a lot of new families in town, and we had families previously who would walk to the market.
Okay.
And so we were part of that routine where they'd come pick up books and their vegetables. So I anticipate that will continue.
Okay.
The only question I have is it falls into the librarian's, or actually the city's responsibility, the librarian, but it's with the staff members, you all ended up getting the Johnson & Johnson vaccine going through. It's now been authorized for a booster shot. Is the city taking any appropriate action for you or and your staff?
At this point in time, we haven't received any communication about booster shot, but we are talking about it as amongst the library staff and tracking that. So we will look into getting booster shots, and we'll see if the city comes down with something more definitive than what we've had.
Okay, but you're looking to the city to provide that. Is that the route that's best for y'all?
I'm not sure what the city will do, but we as individuals will be prepared to make sure that we have a booster shot going into. The city did do a flu clinic, a flu shot clinic, but we haven't heard anything about booster shots so far.
Okay. Is that a concern for the library staff, or you're all comfortable where you are right now?
We're comfortable where we are right now. We continue to wear our masks when we're in front of the public. We have doors and windows open, contact tracing forms. But we will continue that discussion because I know it's ongoing and a little confusing with who is eligible to receive it. And again, as you pointed out, Phil, some of us, not all of us, received the Johnson & Johnson shot. And so I think we're eligible to receive either that booster, Moderna, or Pfizer. And it seems to be that there's, from the studies that I've read, better increase if you have a Johnson & Johnson staff to have that Moderna or Pfizer for coverage. So,
well, I just want to, if you need our help, please don't hesitate to let us know early, and then how best to provide that help.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So number 5 is they receive the treasurer's report. We should wait till John gets back, or do you want to?
We can wait till John gets back. There's nothing out of the ordinary here in terms of our spending. It's, our typical, for the check register, canopy, hoopla, pinecone services, bookkeeping, nothing, no big purchases at this time. In the future, with the announcement by Susan on behalf of the Friends of the Library with the $5,000 increase, I plan to come to the board with a request for a budget adjustment to do some spending on signage for our buildings. I don't know if anybody's been over to the Pacific Grove Public Library, but they did a terrific job with signage. And we pulled some of our things down. We've got a lot of bright things up for the, in response to the pandemic, but we've been thinking a lot about this and fielding some questions from people, especially since we moved some of the collections at the main around a little bit. But beyond that, nothing out of the ordinary in terms of spending. And if anybody has any questions, I'll do my very best to answer them. Otherwise, we can push this back to December for final approval once John is here.
Tara, do you have any feelings one way or another?
Yeah, I think we should wait for John.
Okay.
just as a protocol measure.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so we'll push this, and that'll also let us get our full quarter in, because we'll do the August, September, and October.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, my concern is that we missed last month, and he's not here this month, but at least we've gotten a chance to see it. However, there's the Library Foundation supplement that's missing out of it, and now we're going to a third month. So we're basically going to have to go through a quarter of the fiscal year before we get our first look at the finances.
Yes.
And I'm not sure we're doing our due diligence when we wait 3 months before we actually take a look at it. So we need to make sure it happens next time.
We will make sure it happens next time.
And we're now getting into the usually it was the October meeting where we would look at combining November and December's.
We already did that with the adoption of the
Yeah.
calendar in December. So our next meeting is
November or something.
no, it's December. It's the first week of December. It is
I have it here.
December the
Third,
nope, that's
No,
the
eighth.
tree lighting.
8th.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was looking at, that's when she sends out the stuff.
Yeah.
So it's the 8th.
We'll send a meeting invite out for that, but we already chose the date for that based on calendars and keeping away from holidays and travel plans.
Okay, we just need to make sure that
John is
Right.
able to attend, and we are, yes.
okay.
If you need to change that or move it, I'll make sure to coordinate that with John and all of you.
Okay, so we'll move number 5. We'll move to the next time.
Mhm.
And so now we're down to number 6, consideration of the request from the Monterey Symphony to return the Monterey Symphony collection held by the Henry Mead Williams Local History Department.
And I will let our local history librarian, Katie O'Connell, take the lead on this.
Thank you. Hi. So we had a request from the Symphony to return a collection that's held at the local history department. It's actually held in our storage unit. And I can go ahead and go over the staff report quickly if you guys like. And we also have the executive director of the Symphony, Nicola Riley, here, and Virginia Marine, another representative from the Symphony, in case you guys have any questions. So my staff report, get back to it. So we have a large collection of the Symphony's documents, photographs, archival records. It's about 30 linear feet, which if you're imagining it, it's like a wall-sized collection. It's quite substantial. It was given to us over the course of several donations by a previous executive director of the Symphony starting in the 1990s. The local history department has never had the capacity to process the collection. It has remained in storage throughout the time that it's been in our care, which is unfortunate because it's a great collection. It has a lot of really important material for the Symphony in it. We've just never had the ability to process it and make it more accessible. So the Symphony is coming up on its 75th anniversary. So in advance of that and their preparations to celebrate their anniversary, they had hoped to reclaim, if we are willing to deaccession it, that collection. I do believe that this collection falls under our deaccessioning policy, which I believe was updated relatively recently. Oh yeah, it was revised and brought before the library board in 2018, the local history collection development policy. So following that policy, I believe this collection is too big. The storage requirements are too great for the historical significance, in that we've never had any requests for information about the Symphony except from Symphony staff. So the level of local interest is not commensurate with how much space and staff resources would be required to actually care for the collection. Whereas the Symphony itself has a plan to make use of these materials. They have the rest of the collection. What we have is a partial collection of their records. The symphony is also prepared to make those records accessible to researchers. They have a plan to process it and preserve it, do the archival storage and cataloging, all of that we haven't had the capacity to do. So that is the quick overview, but I would recommend as the local history librarian that we deaccession and return these materials to the symphony.
So Katie, okay. This is Tara. I have some questions, and I don't know whether Katie, you're the most appropriate person to answer them, or if the folks from the Monterey Symphony are. So, whoever is the right person, feel free to chime in here. So, do we know why these materials were donated to us in the first place? Over this, obviously, a lot of materials. Is there a reason that the executive director for the symphony at that time thought it was, if the symphony had its own kind of archives, why it came to us in the first place?
I'm not entirely certain why.
I can answer that a little bit.
Thanks.
So when the local history department came into existence, formally located at the Park Branch building in the late 80s, early 90s, when this building was renovated, a lot of people donated items to us, which was wonderful, that were simply old, not necessarily capturing the history of Carmel. They're also, and I have fielded these questions, and Katie made note of it in her staff report, have been, it's like a folklore kind of mythology of the symphony, that it was conceived of or started in Carmel. Katie tracked it to the Carmel Woods home of Grace Howden, but that's part of the reason why it landed with us, is because the mythology behind the symphony is that its inception happened here in Carmel. And so for the executive director or directors during the 90s and that time subsequently, this was the logical place for the archival collection to land. And so that is why it has been in our care.
But it sounds like the symphony split its archive, and so that's what I'm trying to figure out. Why did some of it come to us and they maintain some of it themselves?
I think that's typical from what I've seen from donations, especially with executors. We had another collection, the Marcia DeVoe collection. If you'll remember the ice cell machine that we had in the lobby of the Park Branch. When I first started here, the executor of that estate, we had a partial collection before that Marcia DeVoe passed away. And then we had things trickle in box by box by box, which was frustrating to try to process, because you thought you were finished and then they would go into some other room in the house and show up 6 months later with another box of photographs after you'd done a great organization. So I think it depends on who is in charge of the organization at that time, and what their logic and thinking is. And that's why it wasn't straight up, here is everything we have that is old in history in our building coming to you. I don't think this is an unusual case at all, based on what my experience.
Okay.
I would agree with that. And just to speak to the records of organizations, they started donating to us, or the first donation came to us in the 90s. So some of the records that were still in active use by the organization at that period would now be considered archival, which I believe are still being held by the symphony. Also, I know the symphony recently moved its offices back into Carmel and is dealing with rearranging all of its papers and historical materials. And it sounds like a lot of things were found or rediscovered, that half of that stuff had come to us and the other half had been tucked in various, closets and things like that for the intervening period. So it wasn't a clean and tidy donation from a living organization that's still active. That's pretty common.
Any more questions, Tara, or comments?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Susan, do you have anything?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. Do we need a motion for that? Yes.
We will need a motion. I don't have any objections either.
Okay, I move we donate the collection back to the Monterey Symphony. Does that work?
That works. I can second that motion.
Okay, if we could have a roll call vote on the motion to return the Monterey Symphony collection back to the Monterey Symphony.
Susan Murphy,
Yes.
Bill Pardue,
Yes.
Tara Twomey.
Yes.
Approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
That'll give you more room in your storage too.
Thank you. Thank you.
And while Katie's there, I want to say that both at the foundation lecture and the comments that I get at the market, she gets a lot of praise for doing what she does. I wanted to say that. The woman who gave the speech or the presentation at the library was, she'd done a lot of research with Katie and was easy to work with. And I had a gentleman who came by the market last week and he had some questions and she answered them immediately. So I want to give Katie a thumbs up for what she does too.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any future agenda items?
Yeah, this is Tara. So Ashley, I'm wondering if next go round, can we get an update on just the gathering space? Just, I don't know, whether it's being used, what's happening with it. I know we approved a policy recently.
Yes, I will be happy to do that.
It can be short, just like no vote or anything. It's just a status update, really.
Yes, yes, I had that on my calendar for 6 months out, but we'll do one in December. That would be good.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious how it's going.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
So I have a quick question. It's probably not a future agenda item, but Ashley, where do we stand on, we have some board members whose terms are getting ready to end. We have the potential turnover of officers into new positions. Where do we stand on that with the city right now in the timeline?
So I had sent out an email to all of you earlier.
Right.
And that was superseded by a decision by the council to pull that item off of the consent agenda. And it is currently being worked on by Council Member Barron with Mayor Potter. The outcome was that terms would be extended through December 2021, and there'll be an item on the December agenda as to how they're going to adjust terms. But they rejected, Councilmember Barron rejected my proposal for how we were extending us out till April. So stay tuned on that. I'll have more information for you all at the next meeting, and I apologize for the uncertainty.
Is that was that just for the library board, or was that for all the boards?
It was for all the boards and commissions. So when the laws change, when we changed the law, the ordinance in June, that became finalized in June, that our new term expiration date would be April 30th rather than September 30th. It wasn't updated with the actual boards and commissions. So we had people who were going to expire this September across the board for all the boards and commissions. And there were a couple of commissions, the library board included. It was the library board and the planning commission who had 3 people who were expiring in the same year, which should not be happening. It should be no more than 2 people, usually 1, because it's 4-year terms, 5 members on the board. And if there's an unexpected vacancy, if somebody leaves in the middle of their term, whoever fills that position should be filling their term, not extend it out. And I think there was some imbalance that happened because of confusion with that. So the Planning Commission and the Library Board were rebalanced by my proposal. So I'll be curious to see how Councilmember Barron changes some of those things up. His concern is that, especially with because we're not doing any appointments in 2021, most of the other commissions serve 4-year terms. The library board is unique in that it's only 3-year terms. That whoever is on the council in 2025, they will not, because no terms will be expiring that year because of this rebalancing and weird year that we're having, they will not be appointing people in the middle of their terms. So for instance, if somebody is elected in 2024, they may, in the next 4 or 5 months be able to appoint people. But once they're in the middle of their term, they won't have that opportunity in 2025. And then in 2026, which would be an election year where there may or may not be a lame duck council, they could potentially appoint people, but it won't be in the middle of that term. So the concern mostly was about 2025 and its impacts to the appointments to commissions. Sorry, that was a lot of context and information, but that is what is happening. After we get through 2025, all should be good.
Okay. All right. It'll be what it'll be on that term. So
yes, and I'll figure out how to. We may have to push based on that. We may have to push appointing officers to January, which is fine. We've done that in the past, and it's not really rocked the boat too much.
Right. You want to appoint the officers after you've had the board shuffle, right?
Right. So we'll find out what the council wants to do. They'll be meeting that first week of